this is what you will need to make your so cute bunny. You are going to need some felt, some stuffing, some fabric glue. You'll need some pipe cleaners or some kind of craft wire. You will need some string to sew with. I'm using crochet string here, some craft paint, or sometimes it's called puffy paint. Some of the extras might be beneficial, like googly eyes or a puff ball or buttons. You might want some clips, and then a needle and maybe a needle threader. So I'm just using some wire here to be the needle threader for this project. A large-eyed needle is going to be perfect for beginners. The fabric that I'm going to be using is the size of 2.5 or 3 by 10 inches. We want a long rectangle like this. And then we're going to fold it into thirds. So see how I kind of fold it and it is about the same length, 1, 2, 3, into thirds. Now we're going to take 1/3 of that and pull it down and cut it in half with your scissors, right down the center. You are going to stop when you get to that folded area. So these are going to become the ears to our bunny. We need to take our craft wire and just get it so that half of it goes up one side, half of it goes up the other, and the extra is down in the bottom part. We're going to take some craft glue, so you might have to be patient to let the glue come all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to place some craft glue right down the middle of that rectangle we have just created for the ear, that part right there. And then the other side is the same thing, bringing this down all the way down to the bottom, and then making sure that the wire ends up right on top of it. Now, I'm going to put a little bit, there's a lot of different ways to do this top, but I'm going to put a little bit of glue and put that top together, and we'll use a clip just to hold it in place. Again, a little bit of glue, and then bend that together and use a clip to hold it in place. Now we have to give this time to dry before we can start working on anything else. I'm going to show you some different ways to start sewing just so that we have an idea. We are going to start with some crochet string, and this is just really nice string that doesn't fray too much, but you can use other kinds of string. And you'll get a length of maybe your forearm, from your fingers to your elbow, something like that. And then we're going to take the string and place it into the eye of the needle. The eye of the needle is the hole that you put your string through. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to show you my hand way. So that's where I pinch that string and then kind of move my fingers like this to push it up into that hole. So take a look at it one more time. See how I can push? There we go. And I can press it and push it right up to the top. Another option for putting string through the eye of a needle is to use some very, very thin wire. Now this is from a twist tie. That's what I took the paper part off and just left the thin wire behind. Now as you can see, if I fold the wire in half, that very easily goes through the eye of the needle, and then I can place my string through the wire and then gently pull back to get the string through the eye of the needle. See how that works? Now we're going to go ahead and tie a knot at the end of the string. So I do that by making a circle, and for me it's easiest to do this on a surface like a piece of felt or carpet. Make that circle, and then we are going to have a small little tail. See that tiny little tail? That tail is going to go through the circle and then pull on both sides of the string. I'm going to show you just in very, very fast speed how I have decided to add 2 buttons for the cheeks on my little bunny. So I'm going to go so fast on this, and the reason that I'm going fast is I'm going to slow down the instructions once we get to the nose. But this just gives you a good idea of kind of how I go about it. Take a look, and then I'll talk you through it. I'm going to add a button nose. So I'm going to go from the back of my felt, bring my needle through and through one of the holes of the button. I pull it all the way until it hits the knot on the back. Then I crisscross, so I'm going to the diagonal on that button. Bring it back up through one of the holes and back down. I'm going to repeat this at least 2 times, maybe 3 times if I want to make sure that it's really nice and tight. So you'll see me struggling just a little bit, and it's not easy to put a button on. You have to try to find that hole from the back, and you have to make sure that that string is nice and tight. But if you persevere, that means try even when it's hard, you're going to get this. Take a look. I'm doing the knot on the back, which means I went under one of the stitches and I pull, 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 pull until I get a little circle. Then I poke my needle through the circle. That makes a knot. I want to do this 2 times to secure it from the back. With all of the parts of the rabbit, you have many, many different options. So for example, for eyes, I might use some glue and glue down some of these silly googly eyes. I do love the look of that. But in my case, I'm going to show you how to make stitches to make the eyes. And I'm going to make them kind of cute, like they're closed and he's scrunching up his nose. So here we go. We have our string and the knot on the back, and we're going to bring it from the back to the front until it hits the knot. Back down. This is called the basic stitch. Back up, back down. Every time I'm pulling it until it's nice and tight. It should look nice and tight on the front and the back. Back up, back down. So now I have 3 stitches. Watch this. I'm going to go right next to my stitch and head back the other way. When I do this, it makes a solid line. Wow. Okay, once I have gone to the end of my stitches that I want to do on this eye, I'm going to flip it over, go underneath one of the stitches through the circle, underneath one of the stitches through the circle. All right, I'm going to repeat this, of course, on the other side, and then I decided, you know what, I just want a little bit more, so I added some cute little eyelashes on there, and I'll do that on both sides as well. Now this sweet little bunny would not be complete unless we put a tail on it. So in my case, I'm going to choose one of these buttons and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this right on the back in the same process that I used for the button nose. Now it's time to get this bunny ready to add the stuffing. So we need to stitch up both of the sides. I have my string prepared. I'm going to pull this through until I hit the knot like I have been doing all the time. I want to get that nice and tight. And now I'm going to go to the outside and to the bottom. So watch this, from the bottom to the top. I bring this out, go from the bottom to the top. Do you see how it's starting to spiral around the edge? This is called a whip stitch, and we are going to do this on both sides of the bunny, always going from the bottom, pulling it through the top. Okay, let's put it in fast. Yep, so that you can see the process. Here's the other side. And add that tie at the end, so just kind of going up from the bottom, one of the other stitches, pulling it through that circle and tying it nice and tight. Do that again. Of course, we always need to do that twice, and that's going to make it very secure, especially when we're going to be putting the stuffing in. We need that to be really strong. Now we're going to go ahead and trim that off and add some stuffing right inside that pouch that we just made. So we're going to use a little bit of stuffing and we're going to try to push it into the head in this case, okay? So that pouch that I just made. Now it's kind of hard because that pipe cleaner kind of kept getting in the way. So you have to get your fingers in there, push it all the way down, and we don't want to make it so solid that it's hard. We still want it to be a squishy little stuffy. And this is going to allow it so that we can close the top. If we make it too much stuffing in there, it's really hard to do this last step of closing up the top. All right, we're ready for completion. All we have to do is close up the top, and we're going to use a basic stitch to do this. So take a look. I am holding on to the top. You could use a pin if you wanted to, but I'm going to be going up and down all the way through those two pieces of fabric. So up, down, all the way through and all the way across. Okay, there we have it. We have the final bunny done. But my final isn't going to look like yours. In fact, you're going to be able to choose any way that you want to make your bunny face. Of course, you're probably going to want eyes, nose, mouth, two ears, and maybe a bunny tail. But from that, you're going to use your creativity to design your bunny in your style.